The Weekly starts now.
First, it was somewhat devastating when you look at the numbers and see how much they've changed in the last year, but I can't allow it to cripple me. I have to continue to build. I have to continue my business.
It's nothing new for anyone in the housing industry. Lumber prices are way up and they're impacting the industry greatly amid a time of unprecedented demand. Today, I'll be sharing what builders across the country are experiencing and what they're trying out in order to mitigate the effects of lumber prices.
It's probably affected our business by 50%. We're probably going to do half of what we would normally do in a year. We're getting hit left and right, and anything else now that's lumber related, we're getting notifications of increasing pricing in windows. Anything that's got wood connected to it, it's going up.
I mean, business is great. Business is booming for us. Now's the time. Now's the time because you don't know what's going to happen next year.
I feel as though we're managing it pretty effectively. It has certainly tested the strength of our relationships as well as our ability to effectively communicate through all aspects of the supply chain. And I'm pleased overall with how we've responded so far. The data in sales and strength of sales is not putting us in a position where we think we're going to shrink. In fact, it's probably the opposite. We're fortunate in the respect that we have strong sales running concurrent with this. So for the most part, we've been able to run pace with respect to price increases relative to retail sales price increases relative to our direct cost increases. And that's not in all markets. In some of our stronger markets, that's a true statement. In some of those markets where sales we're not enjoying that strength of sales, it's not been the case. So it's a bit of a pinch for us in some of those markets.
On average, 2,300 square foot house, we took a hit for about $30,000 between framing lumber, floor system, roof trusses, interior doors, trim, etc. Anything wood related.
I know one builder colleague of mine has talked about that extensively. He builds, the first time home buyer product, but they can't afford it. They just can't all of a sudden afford $20,000 or $30,000 more for their house. So a lot of us are having to absorb this. It's hurting our margins, but in some cases we also can't cancel the contract. Yeah, I actually have a spec house that I'm about to start that the lumber package a year ago was went from $35,000 last year to $71,000 this year, same square footage house. And, but like I said, I can't let it cripple me. I have to move forward. Yes, I'll have to absorb some of those costs. And then, you've got some of them that just can't absorb those costs. I mean, that is our margin, and it's killing us.
So for instance, if you look at a single unit or a two-story townhome, that number's probably not going to be that high. But as you move towards smaller to mid-sized single-family detached product, that number is a reality and something that we're faced with. Some of our upper end products, some of our larger homes, those that would require more product, lumber and OSB in particular, the number is actually pretty well north of 24,000. So it's pretty shocking.
In order to protect ourselves in the future, we're transparent with people. And we said, look at, people would call us and they want to build. So I'm going to tell you right now, we're putting a clause in our contracts for a material volatility clause. And we're being as fair as we can be, that we can get, at any minute, we can see where the price of lumber is. So we set the price of our contract as of a certain date based on lumber prices of that date. And when we purchase the materials, if it's higher, we get reimbursed. We'll produce invoices to show the difference. If it's lower, we'll credit money back. Can't be more fair than that. For that reason, we've had people say, hey, look, we can't take that chance. And I said, well, neither can I. So we've had a few people, walk away, which, it's discouraging, but we can't take that risk. But in explaining it to our clients, I have printed out material from NAHB, and it's very simple. I'd show them, look at, here's a chart of where lumber prices were, prior to, COVID. The easiest thing to do is I tell somebody walk into a Home Depot or a Lowe's and see what a 2x4 costs now. We used to pay $2.79 or $2.10 or whatever, and now they're $7 and change. I mean, right there, it shows you where the increase, and that's one stick of lumber. Our lumber suppliers used to quote us prices, and they were good for, say, 60 days, and then it was, and this was even years ago, 30 days. Now, if we ask for a price quote on Monday, it's good till Friday. That's it. And we were lucky if you can get that. So trying to give somebody a quote and stick to that for any period of time is very difficult.
Yeah, in some, and I've heard some other builders talk about this, about adding escalation clauses to their contracts. But in the reality, at least for me and my business and the colleagues in my area in Birmingham that I've talked to, that's worth about as much as the paper that it's written on, because when it comes down to it, the home buyers the customers can't get the money.
We feel strongly about the importance of strong manufacturer, distribution, and trade partner relationships. And so we've structured the company in a way that sets this up for success for us. And so one of the things that we do that has been really helpful is just communicating with specifics, as much detail as we possibly can, in as much advance notice or time ahead to those groups. And again, it hits all aspects of the supply chain. One example would be roof trusses. Production is high, and so back to that strength of relationship and duration of those relationships, we tend to have some favor with many of our truss manufacturers, and so they'll put us in a priority level build.
To the lumber companies, I would say almost thank you, because as builders, I think that we've gotten somewhat complacent in our building of houses, and we order the lumber and we start framing, but this has really made us think outside the box. We're coming up with some innovative ways that we can frame a house and not have to use the lumber. What other substitutes do we have? Sure, it's going to be a learning curve, but it's going to make us better, and I think we're going to build better houses on the other side of it.
Some of our divisions in what we call Region 4, so take Columbia or Charlotte, for instance, they do a lot of stick framing. Stick framing is a bit of the norm in that area, whereas Northern Virginia, Maryland, even down to Charlottesville for us, and even into Richmond, Virginia, we have wall panels that are built and sent pre-assembled. So, as it relates to a lumber usage, you're only using exactly what's necessary to frame that wall when you're building those off-site. So there's a reduction in the material used, or as compared to stick framing. And so we, it's less about deploying. It's less about specifically saying, hey, let's not use as much lumber, but let's change how we build our houses. And so we're a bit of an effort to disrupt the market a bit and say, okay, well, in Charlotte, can we panelize some of our walls? Is there a way that we can leverage some of our strong relationships with some of these larger suppliers who have the ability to integrate? Can we get them to do that for us down in Charlotte? And I'm tickled to report that that's actually happening. And that's been something that we've been working on for several months. It's just a part of, it kind of, we're fortunate that, I don't know if fortunate is the right word, but we're fortunate in the fact that this actually happens to help the pinch with lumber pricing. But it's just a process as a whole that we want to have and deploy as a company. And so that's just kind of serving multiple benefits, that initiative, those efforts. But then again, on the other side of that, then there's the product side. So it's less process, more product. And if you look at the price of lumber, dimensional lumber studs versus steel studs, as an example, the comparison, the savings is huge. And so and there are companies out there that are certainly taking advantage of that, the use of steel studs, and it's something that we're also exploring to see how we might be able to continue to build a great product, but with an alternative, build a great home, but with an alternative product that's equal to or greater in performance for our customers.
It won't be this way forever. It's got to get better. And I can tell you that the National Association of Home Builders is working extremely hard. Just last week, our chairman, Chuck Falk, met with the National Attorney General's Association. And, both sides of the party aisle had conversations about what's happening and begging them to help us. We have talked to the Biden administration, Secretary of Commerce. We are asking everybody to help us with this. So we're not giving up the fight. We're fighting as hard as we can. We're asking our local members or our members in general, if you've got a situation that you've experienced, share that with the National Association of Home Builders so that we can share that with the Attorney Generals, with the Biden administration, with the Secretary of Commerce to help get their attention. I think that I talked about the escalation clauses that might help builders in their market. But I also think look for the educational classes for the alternative framing methods and different things like that. So look to education into what alternatives we can do. Have conversations with other members in your local association or members throughout the federation. We have about 130,000 members that you can tap. We have a wonderful networking program, an online platform called NAHB Connect. So I would encourage them to sign up for that and ask questions there. That's exactly what that platform is for, is to help builders and associates all throughout the country and having conversations as to how we can help each other in our business.